So Ann, thank you very much for taking some time to talk to us about some things that we see in the industry. And I really appreciated what you and the panel just did, talking about, from a CEO standpoint, how the industry is evolving. Maybe as we as a firm look at growth going forward, maybe you could talk a little bit about what SSGA is doing in the retirement market, because I know that's a big focus that you have.
Yeah, it's a big focus we have because the demographics tell us that it's something that we all need to tackle collectively, not just asset managers, but governments, corporate pension schemes as well. And the demographics are such that the reality is that people are going to live longer, and so we need to ensure that we have retirement systems that can accommodate that. So much of what we do around retirement is based on research that we do on members who are either in retirement systems or not, or have retired or are coming up to retirement. So just this last year, the survey that we did covered 8 different countries. So the UK, the US, Australia, Ireland, Germany, Italy, Sweden and Netherlands. And so what it tells us about, and we asked some pretty pertinent questions to try and establish how people felt about their retirement readiness. And generally across the board, it's not as good as we'd like it to be. So we do have a responsibility as an industry to address that. And the way that we think about retirement readiness is there's 3 different factors. So the first is trust. So people's trust in the system, and their trust in the fact that they know what the system is and the system is not going to change, it's not going to keep chopping and changing. So for instance, in the UK, they've had a new system recently, and there has been a lot of change around that even since it's been implemented. And so there's a little bit of a lower trust there, for instance. The second thing is ownership. So this idea that people take ownership for solving this problem for themselves. And here, for instance, in Ireland, where we don't have a retirement system, the ownership is quite high. It's also high as you'd expect in the Australia system and the US system. And the third thing is readiness. So are people saving enough now, and are they comfortable that the pot that they'll have at retirement allows them to live their retirement in happiness? And so if you rank those 8 countries, what's interesting is the UK and the US come out on top, with Sweden very closely behind. UK are quite low, again I think because of that trust factor and that preparedness factor. And then Germany, Netherlands and Italy are kind of somewhere in between. Probably Italy is amongst the lower of that. So it just gives us very useful and valuable information as to how we need to think about retirement, because traditionally as investment managers we might have built a solution for a member or a corporate pension scheme and said, here's your best investment solution. But with this work that we do in the surveys, the purpose of that is to actually understand a little bit better what's driving people's behavior around pensions, so that our investment solutions that we ultimately deliver might correspond with what they're looking for.
One of the things that I continue to hear people in the industry talk about is it used to be retirement savings were a bit more exposed to the market through retirement, and then much more conservative post-retirement. But as you mentioned, people are living much longer. So what's your perspective on asset allocation as people move through that cycle in retirement?
Yeah, really important that the risk that we have within the investment product that we deliver corresponds with the underlying member's stage of life. So again, the younger they are, the greater risk that they can take, and that just needs to glide into a more risk-free asset as they get closer to retirement. At one point there was a jump-off point where actually you glided to a completely risk-free asset, but now to your point, people want to save through retirement, and they don't know, this is the other research we found, is they don't actually know when they're going to retire. Even if you ask them 5 years from the official retirement age when they might retire, they don't know, and you kind of think that's the point at which you might. So we need to have that flexibility at the retirement stage to ensure that they still have money invested in markets. But the other interesting thing at the start of the retirement phase, and we've seen this with the UK system for instance, and the Irish system we're looking at the same thing, is you want to keep people in the system. So if you enroll somebody who's younger and has a smaller pot of money, and that there's a severe drop in markets, it may spook them and they may want to get out of the system. So there's this behavioral stuff again where people are saying, in order to keep them in, let's just put them in low risk at the very start,
right.
maybe for a couple of years. But you have to be very careful that you do switch them into the more higher risk, because otherwise you're getting into a reckless conservatism stage potentially, where they run the risk of not having enough money at retirement,
right.
if you do that.